Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was entertaining as well as slightly thought-provoking as well. Having experienced dementia in my own family, I think the intergenerational issues that come to the fore and the family tensions around different layers within the family, I think it was interesting to see that. And her son, and how that all plays with the way they perceive how she should behave and how she should be acting, and how they deal with that change. Almost she becomes a child again, and her daughter can't deal with it, but her son, the daughter's son, quite enjoys relating to his grandma on that level. It's really interesting. It's how you deal with it as the person who hasn't got dementia, how you deal with it and try and ensure that the person that has that issue is still able to enjoy their life, and because they don't understand. I mean, they don't understand what's going on. They can't. It's beyond their comprehension, obviously. But if you're feeling sorry for them and upset at their behaviour, then that's not going to help. They get more confused, and they feel more bemused and just not happy with the way things are. I mean, I think it's a great short film that maybe some of the independent TV channels might want to show, because I've not seen anything quite like that, dealing with that subject matter. And I think it's, it is something that's quite common now in society, with people living longer. And those questions and those issues that came up in the film are of interest to a lot of people, I think.
Well, my father recently passed, and he has had dementia. And it was very interesting to see, and what I've noticed is the dissolving of that character and how they take on certain facets of their lives, and how amazingly portrayed it was because of the difficulties that causes with your own family and the way that you live, and how everything has to change, and you have to change and be patient, and you really do have to look at each day as a new day and accept that that's the way it works. And it was beautifully portrayed like that. In some ways they're trying to maintain normality in some ways, and that constant, it's like looking after a fully grown adult who's changed all the rules, and they really want to partake and be part of the family. That's not changed, but everything they do has changed. So whether it be how they eat, what they want to eat, when they want to go to bed, what they want to watch, whether they want to withdraw, whether they want to talk. And one of the things that my beautiful father would do is, it was like a monologue. He would tell us the stories of his life, and that would be from as a child, remembering the war, everything about after the war, having a paper round, how he worked, how he got his apprenticeship, where he went, how he worked in his life, and all of those things. And it's like, I learned so much about his life, and in lots of ways wished I'd recorded it, but it was a wonderful experience in lots of ways, and also very sad. You're constantly in a dichotomy of the person that you love is just melting, and every now and again they're there, and every now and again that you see them in the full, and then the next day they're not. Watching the son and the love that he had for his grandma, and that compassion, because that's what you evolve into, is recognising that person can't help themselves, and that you have to give them the time, and they almost take the reins in a strange way, and you just go with them. No point questioning, just accept, because it agitates, and that's certainly a big lesson for me. Do you know, I think it's something that everyone should see, because so many certainly of my peer group have experienced this with parents or aunts and uncles, grandparents. My grandmother also had it, so it wasn't such a shock, because we'd learned some of the methodologies, although that was quite some time ago. So I think really everyone should have the opportunity to see it.
I think what really fascinated me, how it really portrayed, how the different people, the grandson, the patient or the person with dementia, and how the daughter felt about dementia was really showing the frustration, showing how the person with dementia just really enjoyed herself and was just in the moment, not able to really think about anything else. And how you have as a relative really to accept these changes and just really realize that they can't do anything else. When they were sitting down, right at the end, and the daughter was phoning and just planning to go to the party with mum and her grandson. That was really so lovely to see. For me, it just was a moment of really acceptance and I love you as you are. I think it would be very useful to show people who work with people suffering from dementia, also really a general education of the population, just to really raise awareness and understanding. And that could even be shown really at schools, colleges, so I would think really.
I'm going to say the film is very true in that when someone is diagnosed and a lot of their life then goes back to them thinking about the past, it is quite, a lot of families it's very difficult because it rakes up a lot of the past history of the family. So if there's been a marriage split, if the person's maybe lost a child, if there's problems with siblings that they've had in the past, and actually it all comes back up. A lot of sons and daughters struggle because the relationship hasn't been close with that parent, and then that parent needs them, and that's really hard for them to then put all of that aside and become that carer and that. So it really is true that all those things that have happened during your life come back up to the surface. I thought you could really tell that the person or people that made the film understood the diagnosis and understood what actually happens in the relationships, and you could really tell that, because if you've not had that touch your family or someone you love, you don't really, you can't really understand it. And even like I talk to a lot of people in my job, and I can pass on some of those things that they say to me and advice and things, but I've not been through it, and it does make a big difference. That's why I think that peer support is so important. I would love that sort of my next thing for Lewis is to try and get a group together that's a peer support group for families and for the person living with dementia. We often see denial, whether it be from the person who has the diagnosis or their family, and that's quite a big one to get over. Even the initial going for the assessment can be a massive step for that person, and it's not that it comes out in a lot of different ways. So for some people they do see it, they have that inkling, but I think when it comes as a shock, as in the film, I think that's a lot harder to deal with. Whereas if you've got an idea, you can, hopefully in my job, people will come and chat to me and just sort of say, what do you think? And we can do it in a very gentle way. But when you're a child, when you're the daughter or the son, it can be very difficult, because often you have your children, as in the film, and you have your parents who are going through this diagnosis, and sometimes you have grandchildren, and so you are trying to be the coper and the helper for each of those age groups, and it's hard, it's impossible. I love it because there's I was saying to Susie, you often hear very negative things, you see negative things on TV in the press, but there are so many special moments and so much joy, and music often brings out those moments, and the love of the dancing and being herself for the character, and just enjoying
being her and the dressing and the going back to those maybe past moments that she could remember, that is, and that should be enjoyed. But I think families struggle with allowing the person to enjoy those moments. And it's like, do you know what? Let them, just grab it with both hands and get up and enjoy it with them. But that's quite hard when you're under stress and it is hard to be trying to help someone. So being able to let yourself go and just enjoy the moment with them is hard, I think. For the surgery, we've actually got a training day coming up in November, and the GP, Dr. Dingelstad, said, wouldn't it be fantastic if Susie agreed that we could show it at the beginning of our training afternoon, which would be fantastic for them to really get an idea of the people that we work with and the families that we try and help. But I think a film like that is like we had a few weeks ago, we had a really special day when we had an event at a local church, and again that would be fantastic to show within that event. So to be honest, I think it would be helpful and insightful in a lot of different areas. So my name's Julie Barnett. I work for the local GP surgery, which is Foundry Healthcare Lewis, and I'm their dementia and frailty care coordinator. So I work with all our patients that right from the beginning of when they have a thought that there may be a problem with memory, and I work with them right the way through their journey and their family's journey, usually unfortunately to when we lose them, but then we also carry on working with the family. So we chat and we're there to support every inch of the way. So
thank you so much.
Well, I'm still trying to hold back the tears at the moment because I found the whole film so moving, and I think it was because of all the different sort of relationship dynamics. You had the daughter who was being a strong one, having to hold it all together. She was trying to do the best for her mum and safeguard the mum. Then she had the son who was kind of potentially kind of going against her and ganging up with mum, and then doing the sort of thing, well, I'm going to go live with dad. And as a single mother, I kind of can really relate to that. And then it raised questions about the boyfriend and mum's rights and capacity, but also it was just a beautiful sort of story that she had this man that had loved her for many years but didn't have the courage, and so they were together, and why not, and life's too short, and it was very sort of uplifting kind of element to the story that just life is for living and just go for it. I think what I learned is the complexities of dementia. It's not straightforward, and who's to say that the mum couldn't have a lover or be independent, and it's a sort of a sliding scale of where do you draw the line, and it's so complex that it's not kind of black or white. So many nuances, and my heart was like aching for her, just having that responsibility, trying. And I think also when you've been a single mother as well, you have that kind of, I've got to do everything and I've got to get it right and I'm responsible for him, and sometimes you can forget to have that light-hearted sort of fun element. And so she was kind of holding, she was like, I'm responsible for my son going through university and he's living with me, so it's cheaper, so he's doing the right thing for him. And then you've got mum who's just having a laugh, it's like, oh my god, and like she's like, where is she, and she's buying all this wine. so she was kind of like caught between a rock and a hard place. And I think it's probably a good film to raise awareness and start the dialogue about the complexities of dementia. I think it's a really good route into to start the conversation, and I think most people would be able to relate to some aspect of the film, and it was just so beautifully and sensitively done, and the acting was amazing, and all the other aspects of the filmmaking was amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for talking.
Well, I did. I thought it was really brilliant, and I would love it to be shown to the Alzheimer's Society and for everybody to benefit from it, because I really did think it was brilliant. I thought you were all great too. I've known Claire for years and years, so it was, it was really lovely actually to see it. So thank you.
I thought it was fabulous. I thought it was very enlightening for a lot of people who don't know anything about Alzheimer's, but we do have a bit of knowledge about Alzheimer's, and it was very good. I think it was so true that the grandparent and the grandchild can have an absolute fantastic relationship, even though their relationship changes.
The awful time when you are the young one being told by your parent, and then suddenly it does the reverse. But it was really interesting, so thank you.
Thank you for your